this is what they were talking about. This is what I had to see. And thank God I did it. And that's what caused me to pour water in their ears. I didn't know it was in their ears. I was trying to pour it in their face. This is how I felt. It had to be done. And I thank Sadiq, Bashir Al-Sal, Abdul Sufi, and the day doesn't go by that I don't think of them and my mother and my father. That's all this was.
Going right off that with, when it comes to family, mashallah, I think you stand as a great example for us raising children, and I'm glad we could bring about that resolution, you know, with the water in the ears apology. But
anyone from child services over here?
But what would you say some keys to, you know, raising children integrated and successful in the Jamaat? What are those keys for those of us raising children? I'm sorry, let me interrupt. For those of you who don't know, both of his sons, Junaid and Abdul Rahim, serve at and have served for many years at the highest levels of Jamaat service, as Naib, different national positions, local positions, Qaid, really amazing examples for all of us. And I think that speaks volumes to the way they were raised.
Well, as I said, in the beginning when I came in, I was usually the only non-Pakistani or Indian in the Jamaat. And I think it's important this message is to the non-Pakistani Indian young men here who are here now and who will be raising kids or are raising kids, that you keep this in mind, because I know for a fact, and I've spoken to other friends who raised their kids in Jamaat, that you have to take what I'm saying right now very seriously. When I came in, and being the only African American there, my kids had a little problems with some of the other kids because of the difference in race. And they complained about this. My daughter Aaliyah used to complain because she had she would be given a speech to give in a competition, and she would complain that I never get first place. Would you write the speech for me, Abba? And I said, you have to write the speech. I said, I'll give you the references, what you can use to write a speech, but you have to write it. I'm not going to write all the other kids. Their parents write the speech, and I could believe it, because you see a kid 9 years old standing up using words that I said, well, look, here's the thing. Allah knows who wrote that speech for them, and He'll know who wrote this. If you don't get first place, and you get maybe second or third place, I said, I'll give you a prize also. I said, but you have to write the speech yourself. And that's the way she dealt with the thing. And whenever they complained, particularly my boys, they complained that they don't have any friends at the mosque. I said, this boy said your age. I said, so you go there and you make friends with him just like I do. And everybody who had the same problem, I'll tell you what they did. They sympathized with their kids. And they said, okay, you know, I understand, you know, the racial thing you hear in America, you know, you're getting oppressed and all of this thing, and this is the era. And they sided with their kids. But I told my kids, you had to go there and you make friends with who you can. And they did that, and I see in this Qaideen that, particularly the ones that grew up with them, they have the respect of them, and they persevered through that. And this is the key. When your kids are complaining about they don't want to go to the mosque, you have to tell them, well, I go to the mosque. And when I go to the mosque, the family goes to the mosque. And that's what I did with my kids. And that's one of the ways that you can keep this in there. Because we're all in this together. And the lucky thing about you now is that you have all of this diversity in the Qaideen. And like I said yesterday, I would love to be a Qaideen now with what you guys have here. Because it was a struggle enough in my time. And I know you got your struggles in different ways and things now. But if you want to keep your kids in Islam, then you have to be that example. You have to go to the mosque, and you have to not sit in front of your kids and complain what's wrong with the Jamaat. I sat at the kitchen table when I got paid and took my checkbook out and wrote checks for my child. And so my kids would come and ask me, what are you doing, Howard? I said, I'm paying my chanda. I'm paying my Tariqi Jadid. I'm paying my this. And they saw me doing this. And I've talked to the financial secretary in New Jersey when I was living in North Carolina. And he told me himself, if he don't get the chanda from Raheem, he said, and Aaliyah, they will come looking for me to give me their chanda. He said, they're the only kids that do this. And I'm so proud of that fact, because your kids have to, they'll learn by example. So you have to do this. You have to be the example. I mean, I wasn't an example for everything. I got many shortcomings. I was learning Islam the time I was teaching my kids that, so I made a lot of mistakes. But things that you can control, that it don't take much effort. And nobody's asking you to go out and fight 1,000 well-armed members of the enemy. All they're asking you to do is pay a little bit of your money, not even all of it. So you have an obligation to do that. You who are the young fathers now, or soon to be young fathers. And I want to talk to you about that also. That's how I raised my kids. And I thank God that they listen.
Who's your favorite, Raheem or Junaid?
Actually, I'm gonna figure this one out. I got 4 kids. You know, many of you don't know my third son, Hakeem. He's needs a lot of our prayers. He's not connected with the Jamaat. And I'm going to tell him he's the favorite. Maybe that'll have some influence on him. But there's no such thing as a favorite. I thank God for all of my children. You know, Aaliyah, Hakeem, Junaid, and Raheem. And that's an impossibility to answer that.
No, of course.
And you know,
I thought I'd test you because you said you were going to hold out on answers for me, so I thought I'd give you a tough one. Is there anything either of you would like to add And in hearing any of this, anything you'd like to add?
I would like to add something about him.
Please.
In 1975, you mentioned the incident with Dr. Khan. I'm going to mention an incident with Khalifa Masih and Robbie.
Brother, if you could.
First statement is about Lee right now. We have 6 guys, three from Milwaukee, and they please can come outside. We are leaving right now.
Brother Hussein came to Radwa with a little book on one of these language. Do you remember that? Urdu made easy or something. He was reading this little pamphlet while we were traveling. By the time he gets to Radwa, people were talking to him and he's talking to them in Urdu. And everybody is amazed. And he said, how did this guy just get here and he knows Urdu? And the word got back, well, Khalifa Masih Arabi was not the Khalifa then. I think he was at an Ansar or something. Yeah. He came over on his bicycle and he said, I want to meet the brother who learned Urdu since he's been here. And everybody went and got Hussein. I don't know, they sat down and talked to each other or what. He impressed everybody with the fact that, you know, from that little book, I don't know how he did it. Maybe he had the languages or whatever it was. That's what happened with him. But if that's, you had anything else to do, but I wanted to mention, as the brother mentioned, I'm in the Rich Denada. And I just want to leave you with this thought because I just noticed that my boss just came in a little while ago and told me whenever I can speak about Rich Denada. So particularly whenever I get a group of young men, those who know me well know this is my favorite subject. As he mentioned in the beginning, you know, we have a little problem with Rich Denada. Was that Farouk on the way out? He was going to be, I see you, I'm talking about the other Farouk who just went out and waved to me. He was going to be one of my examples for you. But, in fact, give me a show of hands. How many of you are marriageable age and not married? Come on, come on. How many, okay, how many of you are recently married? I'm talking to all, particularly this group that, within months, within the year, within the first year. I want to address this to you. So I take it you've been raised here in America? If this is the case, this is very important that you heed this. I've been married 44 years, so I think I could speak with some authority on this because this is not something that comes easy. It never gets easy. It might get easier than it was before, but it's something you have to work at. And if you expect to be married for 44 years and still be in a loving relationship, then you have to pay attention to this. You can't go into a marriage because your marriages, inshallah, will be arranged. And if you are having an arranged marriage, you're marrying a stranger. You're marrying in an arranged marriage because this is the practice of Muslims. So, what do you do to create, because this is what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to create this love in her heart. The Quran speaks about this, that the loving relationship between the man and the wife. How do you think this is going to happen if you get married and you're laying down the law about what you want? That you have to do this and you have to do that, and this is what we're supposed to do, this is what's supposed to happen. You want your tea at this particular time when you walk in the house. You know, you don't want to sweep the floor, you don't want to vacuum or clean the toilet or any of these things. Those are jobs for the domestic. You're the domestic, I'm the head of the house, and all of that kind of thing. This is not going to work. You can't lay the law down in the beginning like that, because you have to create that love in her heart. Because if you don't, what you'll do is you have a relationship, you'll have the sexual relationship, you impregnate her, you get kids, you'll be reading your Quran, and you know what you have to do as a father, and you'll do that, and you'll raise your kids, and you take care of them and go to work and all of that kind of stuff. And when your kids get big enough and they leave, you'll find you're living with a stranger still, because it's nobody but you and her now, and the kids are not in the way. So what you have to do in the beginning is make her your friend, like your buddy sitting next to you, who you can't, feel like you could operate if you didn't have the security net. Your wife has to become a friend. I was explaining this to a young man one time, and we were riding in the car with one of the brothers from Pakistan. He was driving, I was sitting in the front seat, and the young man who was getting married was sitting in the back. And I was telling him, I said, he's a young guy living in America for a while, and he was marrying a girlfriend. I said, you can't go by those rules what your father lived. Because your father's Pakistani, you're living in America, all of this time you're an American. I said, you can't treat this woman like, your mother was raised in Pakistan. I said, what you're gonna have to do is you're gonna have to make this a relationship. You ain't supposed to go out and date, all of the romance and whatnot. So now that you're married, you can bring her flowers, and you can tell her, all of the, nice little phrases and all of these kinds of things, and say all of the nice things you would do if you were an American out dating. Because now it's all okay. You're gonna have to make that kind of relationship. You're gonna have to create that love in your house, that she becomes your best friend, that she has your back. Because if you don't make her your friend, you're not gonna have that kind of love 40 years later. You'll be living with somebody who you'll just be going through the motions with. And you want to have a